The Persians say one thing, the Phoenicians another, and already you can feel the accountants of destiny sharpening their reeds. One clerk says the woman was stolen, another says she merely boarded a ship with a kind of desperation that only appears at twilight, when the harbour smells of fish blood and figs, and somebody has just discovered they are pregnant. History begins, apparently, the same way tavern gossip begins, with a girl leaving town too quickly. I should probably tell you now, before we go any further, that I do not trust nations when they explain themselves. Men lie for simpler reasons than empire. A baker lies about flour, a lover lies about where he spent the evening. A government lies because governments are made from men who once lied about flour and evenings and discovered the habit scales beautifully. The Persians say, we were wronged. The Phoenicians say, she came willingly. And somewhere poor Io, who perhaps only wanted to stop trembling long enough to sleep, has become a paragraph in somebody else's revenge fantasy. And you, yes, you, hearing this comfortably centuries later, pretending you are above all this, would likely do the same. If your city burned, you would rearrange memory until it marched in neat columns behind your anger. Don't look so offended. I include myself, especially myself. The thing about stories of origins, and this is where historians become stage magicians, is that everyone wants the first wound. Who struck first, who carried off whom, who crossed the sea with black sails and bad intentions. Because if one can locate the first crime, then all later crimes become merely bookkeeping. The dead can be filed alphabetically. But that's the problem with history. You see, you never know where that first is, where the first wound lies. That's what I admire about Herodotus, you see. He simply shrugged. Perhaps it happened thus, perhaps otherwise. That's what I admire the most, his exhaustion. He has already understood that memory is like a crowded marketplace, where everybody's shouting, everybody's bargaining, selling their improved versions of yesterday. He realized that cities rise exactly the way mold spreads across bread, quietly at first, then all at once, until some future shepherd walks through broken columns, wondering who authorized all this grandeur. So the great become small, and the small become great. Tax records survive longer than beauty. Somewhere a victorious king erects a monument while rats are already nesting beneath it. You see how cynical I sound? Well, that's age leaking backward into youth and ideals. Broken ideals, stolen ideals. At the time I truly believed history possessed moral architecture. I thought catastrophes occurred because somebody deserved them. Then I watched the neighborhood flood while the casino on the hill remained perfectly dry, glowing all night like a smug thought in the mind of God. Still, I cannot fully surrender to bitterness. That is the embarrassing part. Even now, after learning how states manufacture memory, the way factories manufacture canned meat, I remain vulnerable to stories. Imagine this. See this in your head. A harbor at dusk, a woman stepping onto a foreign ship, the creak of ropes, the terrified calculation behind her eyes. Did she flee shame? Was she abducted? Did she hesitate before boarding? History leaves these details rotting on the dock because history prefers banners to heartbeats. And perhaps that is why the narrator himself, Herodotus, keeps interrupting himself, why he wanders away from kings to mention obscure villages, forgotten tyrants, little towns beside rivers no modern map remembers. Perhaps he senses something dangerous in grandeur. Once events become too large, they cease belonging to humans. They become symbols, and symbols are carnivorous things. There is also the uncomfortable possibility that the Phoenicians and Persians both lied and both told the truth. Because memory behaves this way. After enough years, the mind stops preserving events and begins editing them for narrative elegance. Every recollection happens in the present and thus changes the past, the memory. We become our own court historians who remove pauses, contradictions, humiliations. We compose ourselves retroactively.